We can go ahead and skip to the third segment, and just wrap this show up. The third segment is the Washington Football Spotlight. We're highlighting anything or anyone that caught our eye in the week that was the Washington football community. It can be an article, a video, Twitter account, etc. It doesn't matter. So the first thing that I had in my spotlight, it's kind of a reoccurring topic, fellas. But I love hearing you guys' thoughts on certain players. So there was an article. Where is it at? Where is? Oh, I don't. Oh, here it is. An article from Yahoo Sports. It was actually a feature from. It was showcasing the Washington Wire. Brian Manning wrote this on April 18th, excuse me. So this past Sunday, mentioning that Washington should bring Ryan Kerrigan back soon. Um, that's the headline. He obviously, wrote his reasons for why Ryan Kerrigan should be coming back. But my question to you all is, should Washington or will Washington be missing Ryan Kerrigan if he doesn't come back? Like, is that a need? Hey, look, somebody talk to us.
All right. I mean, for me, no, I always had, my opinions about Ryan Kerrigan. I said I've said what I said, but I've always been real about Ryan Kerrigan, and that's he's not a star. And people don't like to hear that. A lot of hardcore fans don't like to hear, oh, Ryan Kerrigan's not a star. However, I am completely fine with bringing Ryan Kerrigan back on this team in the role that he played last year. However, from what I understand, that's not the role that Ryan Kerrigan saw himself in moving forward. We've heard multiple stories throughout the season that Ryan Kerrigan still sees himself as a starter and not a spot rotation guy, which I'm completely at this point in his career and where he's at. He's completely fine for me as a spot rotational guy. But if that's not what he wants, he can move on. But if he goes out there and realizes no one else sees him as the starter that he thinks he is, I'm completely fine with bringing Ryan Kerrigan back, and I hope he comes back in that role.
Let's hear it, AJ.
For me, you know what? I probably got a little bit of a change of heart just because, having Clinton on and speaking about the locker room, the continuity and the chemistry. I represented several players that had played with Ryan, also good friends with Ryan's agent and things of that nature. And he gets along well with the people in the locker room. He may not be going out and partying and things of that nature, but as far as in the locker room, he's good to the guys. He teaches them different things. People look at him for, workouts, different tips, pass rush moves, different things of that nature. So sometimes you need to have that veteran presence within your defense. I think right now, Washington really doesn't have a veteran presence on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, maybe you could say Landon Collins, but he's fighting to get back from Achilles. You got Kendall Fuller. Some people might say that just because he won the Super Bowl, but Kendall's not really that much of an outspoken person. Maybe you need that veteran presence. But it just really boils down to, is Ryan going to be comfortable with being a situational player? And from my knowledge, he's not comfortable with that. But that may change. Guys like him, the lower tier free agents, they won't really start getting signed until after the draft. So you really don't know. But I think if it were me making the decision with the team, I think I would try to look for another pass rusher that complements what Montez and Chase bring to the table on the outside. Just because it's such a different skill set that Ryan has than what they currently have on their roster at pass rusher. And I just don't think it meshes well with what they really want to do. But it's like they couldn't get rid of Ryan during the season. Or maybe they could have, but they didn't make that move to get a pick or something of that nature. But I don't know. I'm on the fence. I think I'll say it. I wouldn't I wouldn't bring him back.
Hey,
I
look, that's
wouldn't bring him
perfect.
back.
That's perfectly fine. So Sports Only Talk mentioned that we definitely need a backup pass rusher. In his opinion, HBK is a lifer, man. Don't want to see him go. He too old to not be spot rotation. Come back, Ryan. Well, I hate to break it to you all, but before he left or cleaned out his locker room for the 2020 season, man. I saw pictures and videos of him moving around in a walker, bro. Like he was, you know what I'm saying? He's an old man. Yeah, for sure. He was out there in the walker just pushing along, I guess he kind of figured he was getting up there in age, he kind of needs like that little what's that little oil to get his knees and stuff going and active and stuff. So
the WD-40.
Yeah, the WD. I was about to say I knew WD-40, bro. He needed that stuff to get him going, man. But yeah, I'm not dealing with Ryan Kerrigan. I'll be perfectly fine if we moved on from him. I understand the sentiment. I just feel like, what is he contributing? Like that, just point blank. I'm just being point blank honest. What will he be contributing? He gave you that the 2 sacks to start the season, and then after that, or 4 sacks to start the season. 2 in the first game, but after that, he was just gone. From a production standpoint and how he looked on the field, he wasn't necessarily that athletic anymore, and it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. So I don't know if we're going to be missing anything when it comes to Kerrigan, y'all.
Yeah, because the ball's coming out so quick these days. Like when Ryan first got in the league, quarterbacks were holding on to the ball a little bit longer. But with the ball coming out this quick, nowadays you need a Chase Young, Montez Sweat type of DN. Like you can't win on the outside with a guy like Kerrigan at this point, unless your secondary really gonna hold up for a long, long time.
For sure. Who is our backup pass rushers? Even Sports Only Talk asked. Brailford. Shoots, that is an excellent question. Oh my goodness, who is the backups? We got Jordan Brailford on the edge. The other people that we signed, that we had.
That's all I remember right now.
Yeah.
Were they using Caleb Brantley as
was he DT or?
Yeah, I thought he was a defensive tackle. They got me looking at the roster. That's crazy. I thought I was ready for that type of question. Oh my goodness, who was the defense ends?
Now I'm looking myself. James Smith Williams, the cat from NC State. We got in last year's draft, I think it was. But we don't know. We haven't seen it too much with him. And the other guys, he's a journeyman, Casey Toohill. But that's no one you will count on. He's no one you're gonna rely on as a backup pass rusher. But
I think Brailford went to the Vikings from what Sports Only said. So Brailford may not even be on the team no more. That was vicious. I think I hate to admit it, but if we could, you know what I'm saying, I'd be okay with a little Kerrigan, the vet minimum, you know what I'm saying? But it ain't my money. If they want to bring him back, go ahead. I ain't realized we ain't had nobody. We ain't got nobody. So
yeah, no, you can bring. That's why I said if Kerrigan is fine with being a spot rotation guy in the defensive line, I'm perfectly fine with bringing him back because, like AJ said, you got Montez Sweat and Chase Young. They do a certain thing. They're speed rushes off the edge, but Chase can do a little bit of both. But Ryan Kerrigan is a one-trick pony as a pass rusher. He's a bull rusher, and he gets by off for persistency. He's done that since his Purdue days. But that's fine. That's a change of pace. But again, you need 4 pass rushers. You don't just have 3 pass rushers because the defensive line rotates so much. So you're going to need somebody else other than Kerrigan, maybe that can be a speed rusher as well, with Kerrigan being your bull rusher backup.
Yeah, for sure. And so, with that being said, knowing that I just looked at the roster, I'm cool with bringing back Kerrigan. If he wants to come back, ain't no way in hell he should be expecting anything more than a backup deal or a backup spot. So he better come to grips with that, and for like 75% of the teams out there in the NFL. Not being mean, just keeping it a buck.
No, it's real. It's real. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. And then we can close it out with these last two players. Alex Smith, obviously, retired this week. Today is Tuesday, so I think it was yesterday where he retired. And Jordan Reed, I believe, retired today. Maybe Alex Smith retired Sunday and Jordan Reed retired yesterday. Either way, both players retired this week. And obviously, Jordan Reed had a lasting impact for what could have been when he was here as a Washington Redskin at the time. And then Alex Smith, he leaves somewhat of a legacy for what he went through. And my question to you all, first thing being, Alex Smith is like, we don't have to talk down on him. That's we know. Well, we all have our opinions. I personally, this 6-4 was a record, but he wasn't necessarily producing that greatly. Whatever, doesn't matter. Still had to say it anyway. What is that one intangible or tangible thing that Smith did bring to the Washington football team? Because clearly they were still winning football games with him as the starter. What was that one tangible or intangible thing that Smith brought to the team while he was here for those 3 years?
For me,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say for me, just professionalism. He brought that to the position. I mean, it was a guy where he set an example for the rest of the guys, and not only on his position group, but for the roster. He was one of those guys you talk about that get in the office at 6 a.m. and leave at a certain time or whatever. And that means a lot to a lot of, the guys under him, the guys learning from him. I mean, you heard even Chase Young talks highly of Alex Smith all the time. I mean, that resonates throughout the whole entire roster, and that's just not what he brings on the field. It's just the professionalism he brought to the position, which was welcome in a culture like Washington. They needed that. They needed a guy like Alex Smith to kind of be the guy that shined in a sea of shit. So that was I felt like that's what Alex Smith
never heard that saying.
Man, I ain't hear it either, bro. It's first time. Caught me on guard.
Hey, brother, you
say that again.
I said, brother, you shine in a sea of shit. That's what Alex Smith did here, as far as his professionalism. So that was very much welcome, and I appreciate him for bringing that here.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. I think the leadership, the professionalism, because, I mean, this is now your job, your career, You got to go about it a certain way, and Alex handled it well. Getting replaced by Kaepernick in San Francisco, being the guy in Kansas City, getting replaced by Mahomes. He never let that, deter his mentality and how he would go about treating his teammates and the job at hand. Like, he was always willing to lend a hand. I think that's the one thing you can speak about with his tenure in Washington and just overall in his career. Like, no matter what obstacles he went through, he always remained the same and was always willing to put the team first.
For sure. I think for me, and I'll be quick with mine because you all touched on the things that kind of encompasses my opinion, but it's more so just like his leadership. Like, he set the example of how to be a professional, like Dre mentioned, and he did it every single day at work. He kind of showed people the blueprint that was on the team of how to become a winner. And whether or not, Alex Smith was that person on the field who was going to throw that 300-yard, 4-touchdown game, which was very rare and didn't really happen often. He can show you other ways to get a job done. And it took the whole team to kind of rally around the position, but at the same time, he'll make sure that he does his job, and that's just, I'm not going to turn the ball over. Now, no matter how frustrating it was, I'm not going to do no revisionist history. No matter how frustrating it was, he showed you a way to get a job done. And I mean, salute to him. But at the end of the day, like, there was like a limitation to that blueprint, but at the same time, like, you can't name a lot. Like, I guess in his era, you can't name many quarterbacks who won as many games as him and lasted this long in the league prior to his injury. It's just the facts, but it is what it is, man. Salute to Alex. And lastly, Jordan Reed. Man. Jordan Reed ended up retiring from the NFL, obviously, due to his issues from concussions. John Kahn wrote about this earlier today, I think, in the morning time. The quotes that he mentioned was, he was pretty sure that he was going to keep playing. He was feeling good about where he was at. And then he ended up going to Orlando's Plasticity Center for a brain scan in the late winter. And based on those results, Kahn mentioned that it was recommended that he retired. So he had some lingering effects. and that's when he ended up seeking out the professional help to get it diagnosed. He agreed at that point that it was obviously time to retire. So, obviously, if you had any quick thoughts on Jordan Reed before we close out, we can go ahead and speak on Jordan and go from there.
Yeah, man, Jordan Reed, in my personal opinion, might have been one of the best tight ends I've ever seen in my life. Like, called him Mr. Unguardable. Like, I mean, I literally seen this man not be stopped on the football field in actual games and off seasons. I've been with him in Miami where he's going against your top corners at the time, Joe Hayden, Stephon Gilmore, so and so, and he's giving them the business. Like, I'm talking about they can't stop him at all. I've just never seen a tight end really with that type of wiggle, and it just looked like he was able to translate basketball over to the football field. Like, he ran routes like he was doing a Euro step and things of that
Yes.
nature. I mean, I'm glad that he was able to walk away from the game on his own reconnaissance. I actually spoke to Jordan earlier this morning. He's in good spirits, man. I'm wishing him and his family the best. And yeah, man, it's just one of those scary things with concussions. You really don't know how it's going to play later down the line in life. And, you know, he has a beautiful family, daughters that, you know, he wants to be here for and protect. That comes before football anytime. He has money, so he's good. You know, main thing is just maintaining his health and you know, his sanity and making sure that he can be here long term with his family.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, for me, it was two tight ends in my lifetime as a Washington fan that I got excited for on draft day, and it was Fred Davis and Jordan Reed. Ooh. But Fred Davis could have been so much more than he was, but he just, I don't think mentally he was there. But Jordan Reed is a guy that we're going to talk about years down the line. Like, I see the questions get asked all the time, even today. People, it's a popular question. Who was a guy that you would go back and say, I wish they had a healthy career all throughout their career and see where they would have went? Jordan Reed is a guy that will always pop up for me when it comes to the Washington fandom, because I felt like a healthy Jordan Reed was a top 3 tight end in the NFL, and who knows how long he could have been that, because as AJ said, his route running was, you know, impeccable. You know, you had to have a cornerback check Jordan Reed. He was only a tight end by title, but he ran like a wide receiver. So, but it was just availability was his only thing that stopped him from being even greater or looked at in a higher light than he was. And like I said, that's going to be a guy we're going to look at years from now and always say that if you could think of one player that didn't get injured, who was this guy? It would always be Jordan Reed for me in the Washington football standpoint, from my viewing point.
So to catch up on a couple of comments, O mentioned Alex Smith is forever good in his books for his time with us, a winner one way or another. Then mentioning, actually, I sports only. If you're still in here, go ahead and clarify. But he mentioned, would you all put him in the Ring of Fame? I don't know if he was healthy longer. I don't know, but if he was healthy longer, he would have. I don't know if he was speaking on Alex Smith or Jordan Reed. He didn't specify at that point. But that was one comment that I'll let you all. And there's one more comment. Jay Grizz 12. Oh, appreciate the follow. I'm sure I know who Jay Grizz is, man. But what's good, bro? He mentioned when Reed was healthy, he was second to nobody at the tight end position. And so sports only mentioned Jordan Reed. So the question would be, would you all put Jordan Reed in the Ring of Fame for Washington?
Unfortunately, no, not for me. I mean, because I mean, it's not a knock on Jordan.
I just like how Dre answered it. He said, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, because I hate to say it, but no, I wouldn't. Like, I mean, because it's kind of the same argument people had for Alex Smith. It was like,
yeah.
You know, should put Alex Smith in the Ring of Fame. I feel like it should be a little bit more sacred than I want, you know, it to be for guys' careers who really made an impact here. Now, unfortunately, again, Jordan Reed is another guy that kind of shined in the sea of shit, but he didn't shine for long in the sea of shit. It was like a couple of games here and there we would see it, or maybe if he was healthy for more than half of a season, you would see it then, but that was very few and far often. So I couldn't him in the Ring of Fame because I don't want it to get watered down for me personally.
Is Rick Doc Walker up there?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Let me look it up. But go ahead. I'll look it up while you're doing that.
Because if he is, then Jordan Reed, his whole family need to be up there as well.
100% if that's the
case. But yeah, I think I'll put Jordan up there. I think when you look at the landscape of the team over the last 10, 15 years, I've said this in our previous episode. This team has really lacked elite talent. You've had Deshaun Taylor's, Chris Samuels, Trent Williams, Clem Portis, now Chase Young. But aside from that, this team really hasn't had much elite talent. At least when Jordan Reed was on the field, he put a lot of fear into defenses and coordinators. So it's like, in my opinion, if we're talking about within the last 10, 15 years, yeah. If you're talking about maybe Washington football team totality, like I really don't know. That's a toss up. But I mean, like Reed, when healthy and was present, he was definitely the best tight end in the league. He was George Kittle. He was Travis Kelce, but even better.
So Rick is not in the Hall of Fame. Oh, excuse me, Ring of Fame for them, which is actually kind of surprising given how much he's been around this team recently. But yeah, he's not in the Ring of Fame.
But that makes me respect it more, honestly, because he didn't have the numbers. But no, I'm looking at it too right now, Maul, and this is actually a good question. Like, I'm starting to look, where's Clinton Portis and Santana Moss? And the reason I'm asking is Sean Taylor's on here. Now, obviously, Sean Taylor's in there for more than football reasons, but yeah. I feel like if you're going to put Sean Taylor in for that era, Clinton and Moss has to come in there too.
7 years tenured, and then you have 9 years with Santana Moss, who was tenured with Washington. And these guys, like Clinton mentioned, bro, like they made such an impact on this community and on the team, bro, and the fan base growing up in that time. Like, that is a really good comment in terms of if Sean is on there. Obviously, his circumstances are much more detailed and more in depth. But like these guys, they made an impact with Washington as well. So that's kind of weird to not see them on there. At least right now. Maybe down the line, I don't know, but they definitely should be on there eventually. Put it that way.